To get started in nearpod initially, the first thing you need to do is just send an email to myself, Mary Murphy, or my colleague Tim Sanderson over in SBlock, and we will send you a generic email address with a password, and that will get you into one of the shared seats that we hold within the license, the education license that has been purchased by the faculty. Once we give that information to you, all you need to do is to Google the word nearpod, so Nearpod, and the link that you want is nearpod.com. So we click on that, and that takes you into the kind of nearpod webpage. To log in and get started, you click on the login tab over here, and you add in that generic email address and the password we sent. Now, I'm actually logged in under my own, but we will be grouping you together under sort of team names. And when you're into the domain, you're looking for My Nearpod. So head for My Nearpod, and you get into the dashboard or the landing page. Now, when you come in initially, these folders won't exist because I've set these up, and you will just have this create your own lesson button here. Because I've been using Nearpod a lot over the last 4 or 5 years, I've got lots and lots of lessons already set up. So we're going to hit create your own lesson. And really this tutorial is focusing on getting up and running with this aspect. So this is just building activities and quizzes and information for students. So we're going to look at 3 or 4 different ways of presenting an information, and in the next tutorial we'll look at some of the more complicated sharing options with pin numbers, etc. So to start adding information, you just click add slide, and we're going to start with a really simple text slide. So we're going to add content, and here you can see add slide. Just expand this to make it a bit easier. There we are. Nearpod is a little ugly, it's a little bit clunky, so that you're not going to create anything that looks spectacularly beautiful within the maker, the building side of it, but you can import pre-made PowerPoint slides, so I'll look at that in another tutorial. If you want to, you can make slides in Illustrator, in Photoshop, whatever way you want to work, and you bring them in as JPEGs, and you will hold all of the resolution and all the functionality of those JPEGs. So for today, we're just going to call this Agile Apps, Staff Development 2019, so that's the heading, and I'd like to put a little image in here. Now I can upload files, but quite handily I can also drag and drop. So if I have an image on my desktop, I can just place it in that little center circle and it will drop the image in. So quite often I will line up images that I want to use just along the left hand side of my desktop and drag them in really quickly. I can also reduce that in size, make it look a little bit nicer. And there are a few sort of themes that I can choose, but to be honest, they're not the best. And once you establish a theme, that theme holds across the entire presentation. So I much prefer to just keep it really, really clean and simple. There's also a few different layout options here. So for example, that one, and you can have a little play around. You can bring in a background element as well. You can bring in an audio file. So there's a few different things you can do there. Once you know that you're happy with it, there we go. Hit save and exit. And that's now saving. So that's the first slide in my presentation. One of the real advantages of Nearpod is that you can bring in interactive content. So we're going to look at bringing something in that generates a little bit of activity within our group of learners. So I'm going to click Add Slide. And instead of content this time, I'm going to add an activity. So what I'm going to add initially is a poll. So there are 2 little arrows on the left and right here, just to slide through. These give you lots and lots of different options of things you can add in. I'm just going to start with a simple poll. And my question is going to be, which animal makes the best pet? And I'm going to give them the option of cats, dogs, and I can add as many answers as I'd like. I'm going to add a third answer, which is goldfish. So those are my three options. There's a little option over here to add in a reference. Now, if I click on that, it will say image, video, audio, audio recorder, PDF viewer, or web content. So these are different prompts or different ways of bringing in something to inform this particular activity or poll. I'm going to keep it really simple and just bring in an image. And previously you saw that I dragged and dropped something in from the desktop, but just as easily I can upload. So if I hit my uploader, I can then just navigate to my desktop, and on my desktop I have a nice little picture of cat dog, and I'm ready to go. Just before I save, you also have the option to add a timer. Now, I find that this causes a lot of stress, so I generally don't tend to use it very often. But sometimes with quizzes, if you want to be competitive and get a bit of buzz going, you can add a timer onto the duration that they have to answer the question. And it just helps move things along. So I've just clicked save, and now I have 2 slides in my nearpod presentation. So I'm going to add a third. And I just want to show you a different way of asking students to give information for a nearpod. So if we add an activity here, I'm going to pick open-ended question. So the open-ended question I'm going to ask is, what did you get from the session today? So it's a good way of prompting sort of more reflective practice. And I'm going to add in a reference here. And this time I'm just going to do a Google safe search. So I just want them to think. So I'm just going to type in the word think, and there we go, that'll do. It is a good idea to add in little images and prompts. It just helps, and it just makes it look a little bit more attractive. So that's very, very simple. And again, I could add a timer there. So if I wanted them to spend 5 minutes on this piece of reflective practice, I could set that as a timer and say, you've got 5 minutes to type that in. I'm going to hit save. And now I have 3 questions